You're listening to Guitar Talk with Dave and John.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to this third edition of Guitar Talk featuring Dave and John. I, of course, am not Dave.
And I am not John.
You guys do the detective work. So what's going on, DL?
Well, the same old stuff. I had a couple of gigs this weekend. I did two acoustic gigs this weekend. And I have nothing this weekend coming up. This is like exciting. I saw Toto the other night, though.
Oh, yeah? Was
They
Dorothy
were
with her?
fantastic.
Oh, the band.
Yeah, no, Toto was awesome. Lukather is still like just a monster, and his voice is sounding just as great as it always does. The band was great. I'll tell you who really blew me away at the show was how good Joe Williams is.
Oh, they've got Joe Williams singing with them again. Now, he was on some of the 80s tracks, but I don't remember which ones.
He's on the albums Fahrenheit and the seventh one. And he is the composer John Williams' son.
Right.
And he did all the Kimball parts perfect.
Nice.
He nailed it. And then he did his songs great. He was just...
Is Joe
awesome.
Williams, is he the one that sang Pamela?
Yes.
That's
which they didn't do, which I was...
That's a great tune.
Yeah. Yeah, they did a lot of great songs off that record, but they didn't do that one, which I was kind of like, eh. But yeah, it was a great gig. I was like, wow, it was impressive. I thought Luke's tone was a little dark in the beginning, and then it brightened up as the show went, and it sounded better.
Oh, must have been front of house guy, something.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. He was using those, I know he uses those Bogners, and I have that.
The Ecstasies or the Helioses? He used to use Ecstasies, but I
think he's using Ecstasy still. Well, at least that was what was on stage, like three of them. And then he uses that pedal for added dirt, the Bombastortion by Jeff Coleman. I have it, and it's a very dark sounding pedal. I'm not crazy about it. It's very similar to the Angry Charlie, but I think the Angry Charlie can bring in more brights. So I like the Angry Charlie.
Right on.
Yeah.
What was their encore?
Get ready for this. So they finished the show with Africa. Mm-hmm. Then they came back for an encore and talked about how Weezer did Africa, did a cover of it, and so they did a cover of Hash Pipe.
Oh, that was their encore? Oh,
yeah.
That's hilarious. They've probably spent 35 years doing either Africa or Rosanna as their encore. I suppose at this point they're probably over that.
Yeah, Rosanna they got to early. The second song of the night was Hold the Line. I was like, wow, this early. And Joe Williams, again, I can't say enough. He was so good.
Yeah, hitting
really
the Kimball parts.
Yeah, just nailing it.
What is Bobby Kimball up to these days?
I saw this video on YouTube with him. He was like rescuing animals and stuff, him and his wife. And then, yeah, I don't know. I love Kimball, not as much as you love Kimball. But who doesn't love Kimball? Kimball was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love Steve. To me, I wish they just did a whole night of
ridiculous.
Yeah, if he did all the Lukather songs like How Does It Feel, Anna, These Chains, 99.
So you got to see Toto. You don't have any gigs coming up. I don't have any gigs coming up until December 7th and 8th. I've got two coming up. Those are the closest.
Nice.
Which is kind of nice. I get a little break for the family on Thanksgiving weekend, and we'll see about brushing up on some techniques and all kinds of other stuff. In the group that I've been playing with my buddy Troy, a couple tunes. And I'm trying to avoid just playing like straightforward pentatonic solos and, things for that show. So get some time to woodshed a little bit and try and remember how to do some of those cool country licks that you showed me years ago.
Nice.
So that'll be fun. That stuff is it's so tricky. Yet I have a feeling that if you grew up with it, it's probably second nature to you as a guitar player. And I feel like that's probably the case with music like jazz and anybody that didn't grow up with metal, they probably turn around and try and play metal and they say like, Like, this is so fast, it's so hard, I don't know how anybody can play this, and yada yada yada. And it makes me think, like, DL, are there any genres that when you were younger, for instance, maybe you dismissed because you were in the midst of something else at a particular point in your life, and now you come back and you hear it later in life and you're like, I don't know how I missed the appreciation for this, but now I get it.
Actually, it's weird because I went through that much earlier. Like, I did that when I turned about 20 years old. I got into country. And before that, I was like a metal guy. And I wouldn't just say metal, but hard rock. I was big into Zeppelin and Queen and Iron Maiden and Priest. And then when I got to be about 18 or 19, I got into Steely Dan and Toto. And I was like, oh, these guys are doing interesting stuff. Like, I love the chord harmony. And when I was 20, a friend of mine turned me on to Steve Wariner and was like, check this guy out. And I loved everything about the songs, the guitar playing, everything. And it wasn't until I went to see him live in like 96. I saw him at the Roxy on Sunset. And I'm like, wait a minute, he's the lead guitar player? I had no idea. I thought he was just the singer in his band. I had no idea. I mean, that kind of opened me up to country guitar playing. I really never attempted it. I would always just be a fan of listening to it.
Right.
And I also think there's a lot of music that you listen to where you're not inspired to pick up the instrument. You just rather listen. And then sometimes you hear something, you're like, oh, wait, I got to get my guitar and figure out what he just did. But yeah, no, totally. I would say that and obviously, like, and I say obviously because it's to you, because you've seen my CD collection. I got into the Cure and the Smiths when I was in my 20s as well.
Right.
Late teens, early 20s. But for the most part, I would say, when you're younger, your parents listen to music, and you grow up disliking that music or rebelling against it. It's like when I was a kid, Seals and Crofts would come on the radio and we'd just be sitting there like, this thing again. Now, at some age, you hit a point and it becomes very nostalgic and you realize these are brilliant songs. I think a lot of those AM songs I really look at now and I'm like, wow, these were great. Like, really great. And when I was a kid, I wouldn't say we didn't like them, but we just didn't care. It was on the radio. It wasn't like I was asking my mother to buy me the next Seals and Crofts record, I mean, my first, I was like listening to Foreigner Double Vision when I was 10. I wasn't like, get me Foreigner Double Vision and see if England Dan and John Ford Coley have a new record. That conversation wasn't happening.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Now, what about you? What music have you gravitated to recently that you would say?
I wouldn't necessarily say that there's anything recent genre-wise that I've gravitated toward. There are artists whom I kind of dismissed in their heyday, where I've come back around and said, like, oh, yeah, all right, I get the appeal. Like, right now, Smashing Pumpkins is high on my list. I never gave them a chance in the 90s. I was into metal. I was into other grunge bands. I was into Soundgarden and Alice in Chains. I still love those bands. But Smashing Pumpkins, I never got. And now that it's 20 years later and they're irrelevant at this point in time, I've been going back and listening to some of it. And I don't know why, but for whatever reason, it appeals to me right now. He's got a voice that you can't mistake. It's not a good voice. It's just, you can't mistake it. Nobody else sounds like that guy. The lyrics are pretty good. The lyrics are interesting. They're a lot more interesting than a lot more stuff that I think I appreciated when it was popular. The guitar playing would typically not turn me on because it's like heavily fuzzed out as opposed to articulate metal style playing, which back then didn't appeal to me at all. And yet for some reason now I listen to it and I'm like, yeah, something about this like gets me. And I think it's because it's turned on its head from what I would normally like. And there's something about just maybe the complete change that gets me. I don't know what it is, but that one's big for me. I've also I've been on my This is like a semi-annual thing for me. I get back into like early 90s hip hop. So I'm on that right now as well. And it cracks me up because I've been watching other YouTube video reactions from people watching the Ghetto Boys videos for the first time. And they're like, this stuff is genius. And there's guys that are like hip hop guys that are, 20-year-old kids that never heard this stuff before. They only hear what they have now. And they're all saying like, wow, this is the real shit. This is so much better than what we have now. They're singing about social issues instead of money and women. And they're like, I can't, this guy is so hard. And, like listening to this guy, and it's hilarious because you hear these reactions and they're the same reaction that I had the first time I heard him years ago. But, you bring it back into rotation every once in a while and all of a sudden it's kind of fresh again because you don't drown yourself with it. You don't get the monotony of it because you're not around it. You're around everything else that you do day to day and that you listen to day to day. So I have a massive appreciation for some of that material.
Oh, I love that early 90s, even mid 90s rap R&B with Tribe Called Quest. I love that Black Sheep album that came out. That might have been 89 or 90. Ghetto Boys, Damn It Feels Good to Be a Gangster. I mean, that's great stuff. De La Soul. I liked all that stuff.
I'll go as late as like Mos Def. Mos Def, his first record is super good.
You know what album I love? Well, in hip hop, I love Guru's Jazzmatazz album. That first record he did, Jazzmatazz, with India Davenport sings backup on it, and Carleen Anderson. I think that's a great record. Great record.
I'm gonna write that
Excellent
down.
Album.
You said it's Gurus. See, I'm writing
Jazzmatazz.
What are they British?
No, Guru's actually a guy from Boston who the band Gangstar came out of New York, and it was him and DJ Premier, and then he did his solo thing with all these jazz artists. But it's a great album. But getting back to your Smashing Pumpkins, what I would say, because I'm a little older than you, and so when Smashing Pumpkins came out, I was already at a different space in my head. And I think if they came out in the 80s, I probably wouldn't have liked it. And I'm not saying their music wouldn't have matched at that time, but what I mean is when we're kids, we want to hear stuff that's like aggressive and like articulate, and we will sacrifice melody for that. And we do sacrifice melody for that. It's like the old joke about Kiss. There are 4 guys dressed as monsters playing heavy metal. You're asking me about the songs? Does anything please you? It's like, who cares about the songs? There's guys that, and Smashing Pumpkins was very, very melodic. And it's, even though his voice isn't great, it's great melodies, and even the guitar melodies are really nice. And they got that fuzz, which kind of adds to that, and they're playing like that major third, like in Cherub Rock. It's like, it's very cool. And as an adult, we start listening more with our whole, not just listening what the guitar's doing, but as a band. And I honestly think that that's evolving as a musician, and it's why I think like guys like Eddie Van Halen don't get enough credit that they get, because here he comes out, he's a young kid playing in Van Halen, and even though he's doing the shred stuff and everything, the songs were really melodic and the grooves were really tame compared to what came after.
I'm gonna debate one thing that you said about this, though.
Go ahead.
I completely agree with what you're saying, except you're saying you don't think Eddie Van Halen gets the credit that he deserves. I think Eddie Van Halen's the most celebrated guitar player in history.
Well, I think he's celebrated for a different reason, is what I'm saying. He's celebrated for the flash. What I'm saying is if you take all the flash away and look at him as just the substance of just the rhythm player and the songwriter, it's really melodic stuff. And that totally. That's what I'm saying. He gets overlooked in that respect of that aspect of guitar playing, where it's like, oh, Eddie's great, he taps, he's a shred monster. And I'm saying you could take the shred stuff away and still listen to him, and he's much more evolved than any guitar player his age, because he understands it's about a song. And
you listen to any of that first record where it's like one take all the way through, the lead and the rhythm playing together, and it's a thing of beauty, dude. That is ridiculous stuff.
Yeah, like a song like "Women in Love" on the second album. It's beautifully melodic, like all that stuff. It's just real nice, and that's all I mean. It's like he's overlooked in that aspect of playing.
As a songwriter?
Yeah, as a writer and someone that's just conscious of melody and harmonic stuff that's going on. Like, it's easy to write. Like, David Lee Roth is not the greatest melody writer of lyrics, but he doesn't almost have to be because the harmony is so nice in the chords and everything. And that's kind of, like Steely Dan. Donald Fagen's not the greatest singer, but when he's going, standing tough, the stars and stripes, you can tell, you got all those jazz.
Right west down sunset.
Yeah, I mean, you're like, this is the greatest, because it's like, who cares? It's like the harmonic content is so rich. It's like, it's great.
Dude, that band is so good.
Oh, awesome.
Another thing, another genre that I never really appreciated, and I only appreciate it now for one thing. Punk rock, I never dug. Dude, you get into some of this stuff, like one of the cover bands that I play in, I had to be able to play this song Linoleum by NoFX. It's about 200 beats a minute, and there's the down picking 8 notes through it, and it's like, holy shit, dude. My wrist is like on fire by the time I'm on like the fourth measure of the song. All of a sudden I gotta switch it up and start doing back and forth. And then, like, when I can finally, like, rest up again, I start hitting the down picks again, and it's just like, good Lord, dude.
I saw them, I think, around 1990. I saw NoFX.
Oh, okay.
They opened up for Fishbone years ago.
Oh, that's funny.
On, like, the Reality of My Surroundings tour. Yeah, I mean, to me, like, I love, and we were just talking about this the past couple of days, me and somebody else. We were talking about how great the Sex Pistols' first album, or only album, is. Never mind the bollocks. The album is so good, and really, in my opinion, one of the truly only punk records where it's like, it is just nasty and great and melodic, but cool. And I do give credit, that band is Johnny Lydon. They're great. In fact, the Sex Pistols recorded around that album around the same time that Queen was doing News of the World, and I guess they were recording at the same time, and they were friendly. And well, Steve Jones and Brian May were friendly. And then there's a cool interview from Jonesy's Jukebox that's on YouTube. You can watch. It's really cool. Have you seen the Queen movie?
Check it out. Not yet.
Well, can I give you a little spoiler? I don't like it.
Really? You're the only person. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. You contrarian, you.
Yeah, a contrarian. I'll tell you why I don't like it. I was a huge, huge Queen fan, probably from like 86 when I got out of high school to like right up to about 91. And right when he died, I was so bummed out. But I will say this, Freddie was, he was gay, but he acted much more like a gentleman. He would joke and be catty here and there, but he was way more of a sophisticated guy. He was a shyer guy. He was quiet. He was very humble, but he was brilliant, and he was brilliant musically. The movie kind of cartoons him to this overly gay. I mean, like, they played him like J.M. Bullock was playing him. I felt like I was watching Monroe from Too Close for Comfort. It was like, it was just bad. Overly gay. And then when they showed him on stage, they showed him as being like the actor was clumsy. Like, he looked clumsy on stage. You go watch Queen on any YouTube, watch him live from like 77, 76. Mercury is like one of the greatest frontmen in rock and roll, period. He owned the stage, and it was like, and he wasn't like so flamboyant. It was very, very much rock and roll.
Right. I'm going to have to check it out.
Yeah.
I like your take on it, because everybody else that I know, they're all over it. Oh, it's the greatest movie. And I'm so glad that, somebody decided to finally make this, and yada, yada, yada. And I even heard people, commenting on the fact that it's nice that they celebrated his life as opposing to just hanging on to his illness and his ultimate death.
But the movie's a lie.
I heard they don't touch on that stuff at all.
Well, the movie's a lie. It's
right.
It's completely all the timeline of the movie and stuff. Like they have Freddie going to see the band live, and then he meets them right after the guy quits the band. He went to college with the guy who was singing in the band Smile, and he already knew the guys in the band, and he was the next logical choice. It wasn't like this chance thing like in the movie.
Right.
They have them
that's
doing
funny.
they have it like they kind of imply that they were like nobodies when they got their second record deal, which in the movie appears to be a night at the opera. However, they had just gotten off a huge tour, already did the TV shows that the new guy is promising that he's going to get them on in the movie, and it's like they already did it by this time. They're doing We Will Rock You in 1980. It was in 77. And they make everything about like the band breaks up in the movie and they get back together to do Live Aid. It's like this touching thing, and Freddie tells him that he has AIDS. And it's like, well, Freddie didn't know he had AIDS till 87. And the band was on a 2-year tour before Live Aid. They never broke up. They were touring the Works album. So it's just they try to make Live Aid like it's the biggest thing, and this is the thing that made them so big.
So they were creating drama that didn't exist.
And that's why I hated it. But anyways, not a fan of the movie. I thought some of the guy who played Brian May did awesome. And the only other thing that I got out of the movie was I keep going on. Brian May has a guitar company now. And I keep looking at his replica guitar going, that thing would be awesome to have. But it's a 24-inch scale. It has a 0 fret. There's plenty in it. There's plenty about it to talk me out of it, but I love the look of that instrument.
Yeah. That's the only one out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are they calling the guitar company these days? Because there's been 2 or 3 iterations of that replica made over the last 25 years or whatever.
Guild was the first. Guild had the very first license from Brian May to make it. And then he went and had it made by, I think the company was Burns, the company that made the...
Right. The Burns Bison.
Right. And then he realized that Burns was just going overseas and having somebody else make it. So Brian was like, well, I can do that without you.
Mm-hmm.
And so now they have Brian May Guitar.
Oh, okay.
That's what it's called. It's his company.
Oh, that's rad. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, so they make a Chinese version, which is like, that has a Wilkinson's bridge, and it's a little different than the original. It's a thinner neck profile. And then he has the Super, which is the exact replica made in the Czech Republic. But it's exact, and it's gorgeous.
I wonder if he's using the shop that Spector uses to make all their instruments.
I would imagine he's probably using like one of the best, because it looks like he's selling the thing for $3,200.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's really nice.
Who else is making instruments in the Czech Republic? Is that company Mayonnaise? Is that Czech or is that Polish?
Warwick is. I know that. Warwick was for a while.
Okay. I'd be willing to bet that the Warwick stuff was coming out of the same factory as the Spector stuff.
Yeah.
Because Spector came out with the NS bases. That was the first thing. And then Warwick kind of co-opted that design and built their company on that design. Yeah. So it wouldn't surprise me. It's the same freaking thing. Yeah, anyway, no offense, Warwick, but Spector did that bass first.
I always loved the Warwick thumb bass. I always thought it was a nice bass. Nice sound, anyway.
Yeah, no.
What I love about the Warwick thumb bass is, they have their own pickups and they're great.
Right.
And then in their advertisement, it says Warwick, the sound of wood. Yeah, Warwick. Hey, I took that pickup out. I can't seem to get the people in any of the rows, the front row, the back row, the guy next to me. Nobody can hear me.
That's funny.
The sound of wood.
Here's the sound of wood.
Right, exactly.
That's the sound right there. That's what you're looking for your crowd to hear.
Yeah. So I love that, because they had a great pickup, and then they're like, the sound of wood. I'm like, the guy who manufactures the pickup at the company might be like, what? It's the sound of what?
This is a little off topic, but I have a friend who manufactures like really high-end nylon string guitars. I mean, really high-end. They're all hand-built. He only makes about 4 a year. And they sell for anywhere between like $7,000 and $12,000.
Wow.
So he had an opportunity at one point. I guess he had a job offer to go and become a master craftsman at Fender, doing, Fender custom shop work, to which he turned down. And he said to me, he's like, I don't want to build countertops with strings.
Yeah.
I thought that was so funny.
Excellent.
Just like, oh, dude, you can actually earn a paycheck, but no, you don't want to make countertops with strings on it. All right, whatever. But it just cracks me up. The sound of wood.
Yeah.
The sound of your kitchen sink with a fucking DiMarzio in it.
Right. I mean, and then, it's funny because people are like, they were using ebony, maple. I saw you posted something on Facebook of what's your favorite fingerboard wood.
Sure, gotta
and
have.
I was like, I love Ebonol, right? Ebonol's like it's basically like the same thing that steak knives use. It's that it's composite pressed paper and
good stuff right there.
Epoxy. Now that's guaranteed a lifetime.
Martin uses some sort of an ebony composite on the fingerboards of their Jeff Tweedy guitar.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what it is, but it's basically the same thing. It's an ebony composite. I had that guitar for a while, and it sounded amazing. Yeah. It was a great acoustic guitar. And I'm sure that it had everything in the world to do with that steak knife handle. That's great. It's
such a great material to use in lieu of wood. Right. And people who talk about it's got to be the real. I can hear the difference. Yeah.
You remember those low-end Martens that we used to get at West LA? They were, I don't remember what they're called, maybe DX?
Yeah, I was going to say the DX series.
Yeah,
DX1.
it had that Formica looking back inside. The guitar sounded great for the money. Sounded absolutely great.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a guy message me the other day on Facebook. He was asking me about the Yamaha LL Trans Acoustic. It's like, for $9.99, it's a solid rosewood back and sides guitar, plug-in Yamaha. That's fantastic. And he's like, how is it compared to a Taylor & Martin? For $1,000, you're not getting anything from Taylor & Martin close to it.
You're talking about the LL16?
It's called the LL Trans Acoustic. It's a new model. It's
okay.
Yeah, they have an FS Trans Acoustic and an LL, and the LL's the solid woods one. The LL16 is a great guitar. The LLs. Yeah,
totally. And I think that one starts at $799. All solid.
Yeah, and it's all solid woods. I mean, but it's like if they used Ebonol or anything like that for the fingerboard, who would give a crap? I would rather have it Ebonol and be jet black and look cool than for it to be real ebony and have all kinds of stripes and stuff in it.
Right.
Just saying aesthetically, because tone-wise, it's not changing a damn thing. Who cares? But, Anyways, you were talking earlier about something in your gig bag. You put stuff in, and you were asking me what I had, and I was just gonna. You want to?
Yeah, dude. I woke up in the morning and I had a squirrel in my gig bag. No, I'm kidding. It was dead already. No, I'm kidding. No, I went to rehearsal yesterday, and we were supposed to be doing a rehearsal that was specifically pulling up the dynamics and everything on our background vocals for the Elvis band. We got so many people, so we were working out some compression and reverb settings and things like that on the mixer, and I completely forgot my microphone, which is nuts because we were supposed to be doing this whole digital mix, getting our dynamics in order, getting our reverbs in order for all of the background vocalists in this band. And this is one of the gig bag essentials that I normally carry around with me. It just so happened to be in my other gig bag, which I travel with two of them generally, and I went to rehearsal thinking it was in the one, and it wasn't. Anyway, long story short, it made me start thinking, for a guy playing out regularly, what is in your bag of tricks that you need to keep with you in order for you to be comfortable and make sure that you have a successful gig? Because I've got my list. I'm curious what yours is.
Well, my microphone is in my bag, and I run two bags as well because I have my electric rig and my acoustic rig, and so I keep a mic in each. Just so I don't do that because there is some stuff I have to transfer.
You say you're better than me?
Oh, yeah. But I always bring an extra. I always have the extra mic. And you know what? With Black Friday coming, if you can see, you can go Blue usually does for their Encore 100 or 200, which is a fine microphone. They do like 2-for-1s. They run specials. I would always pick that up because you can use the second mic, keep one either at home and one in your bag, or one in one bag, one in another bag. It's never a problem having an extra mic. You're never going to run into an issue. You might have a gig and another singer comes up and you want to have an extra mic and cable so they can not sing on your mic and you can, do your thing. So yeah, so that's definitely in there. I always have a power strip in there, an extension cord. I have 2 different sizes. I keep like a 10-foot and a 25-foot in my, just in case, you never know where power is going to come from when you go to a gig. So I always have that in there. And another essential I always have is my guitar kit. Like I have, wire cutters and a string winder and extra strings in this kit bag that I have, just so I can, because, usually I'll bring one guitar.
These are always there. Indispensable, yes. Folks. Indispensable. Yes. Keep that in your gig bag.
That's true. That's like my main thing. And then anything else, like, my cables and everything, but that,
yeah, of course,
that's a given. Yeah. And again, I try to keep the cabling separate. Like I try to have enough cables that I cannot swap bags. I take the extension cords back and forth in my mic cables, but I should, in a perfect world, I would have extra sets in each, just so I'm not doing it, because, you get to a gig and you're like, then I have to say to the other guy I'm playing with, do you have an extra mic cable?
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's only happened once, but yeah, it happens. And so, it's nice to go prepared.
Yeah. I've got, that's my mic. I put a red windscreen on it because it's a 58. And everywhere you go, everybody's got a 58. Yep. And you're either going to confuse yours with somebody else's, or it's going to get left with the house or something like that. And even though it looks kind of dumb, I always know that the one with the red top is mine.
Yeah, it looks cool.
You can, of course, mark yours with anything. If you've got a 58, put a piece of tape or something on it with your name on it, just because it's so common. Everywhere you go, there's going to be a pile of them. So you need to make sure that, you're not sucking on the germs from some other knucklehead that was, mouth breathing all over that mic the night before.
Right.
If you're weird about that sort of thing like I am, I'd rather have my own, and this is an easy way to identify it.
The other thing
I had. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
I was just going to say, if you're playing gigs where there's a house PA and there's microphones already there, then I suggest you take a box of a little thing of Clorox wipes, and when you get there, you can wipe your microphone down.
That's a good idea.
So you're not getting somebody else's fever that played the night before.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Here's another tip. If you've got one of these, so this thing, I don't know if you can tell what it is. This is I think what's effectively a beer cozy.
Yeah.
That attaches to a microphone stand right here on this clip. I don't really drink very much, so I mean occasionally I'll throw a beer in here, but on a night where you're playing 3 sets and you're going to be singing, having a bottle of water in front of you on your mic stand that you can hit between songs is going to save your voice and help you perform much better. And you can get this on Amazon. I think it was $10.
Yeah.
It's made by OnStage. It's just a little cozy thing, but I feel like this is really, really important to have in the gig bag on long gig nights. And the other thing I don't have on the desk, but having a hand towel with you, I think is great. Because if you're playing and you're playing rock stuff and you're getting hot and you're getting sweaty, like, in between every couple songs, being able to grab a hand towel and wipe your forehead off, it might seem like nothing, but to me, it's great. It really helps your comfort level through the course of the night, And then another thing, I carry gaffer's tape anytime I play on like one of the bigger stages. I'll be able to pin down some things so that my area is not, sloppy.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the last gig that we played, Elvis went down. He tripped on a power box, ended up going down, hurt his wrist. And it's like, this could have solved his problem. My area was tidy. Maybe I should have been more generous with my tape.
Right, exactly.
Things you don't think of during the gig, Well,
but, the other thing is that I do is I bring a rug, and people always laugh when they see me bring it in. I bring in like a little Persian rug, and I put it down because it saves my knees on stages. Like, because your feet start to kill if you're sitting on like a hardwood stage But if you're standing on a rug, it's nicer.
Oh, the shock absorption.
Yeah, it's great. So I bring a rug. It cost me $50. I keep it in the trunk of my car. I roll bodies in it when I have to get rid of them and dump them in the ocean. But for the most part, it's really good. I just find it that it's makes life easy. The rug, just
yeah. Who would have thought? What are your dimensions? Are you using something that's like
8 by? No, actually, I think it's 5. It's like 5 by 8.
That also marks your territory. So if your singer steps on your rug, you can be like, dude.
And a lot of my cabling can go underneath on the side, and you can tape it down. It's great.
There you go.
Yeah. No, it's just great. But it's really good for, like, especially when you have your pedals in front and it's just in front of the rug. So it's like it's a comfort that's like, you're like, this is worth the $50 for sure. And you can get it like at Walmart. I think I bought it online.
Yeah, good enough.
It's great.
Plus, every couple of weeks you can add a few square feet to it until the singer's stuck in the corner.
That's right.
You can run around anywhere you want.
My stage is growing.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's great.
But yeah, that's, I basically think we're on the same page in terms of what kind of crap we're bringing to the show.
Yeah.
It's some of the little things you don't think of that hopefully a conversation like this like helps you out during a gig and saves your ass. Even this, like, if you've got, problems with dropping picks because you've chose poorly as to what you're going to be strumming your guitar with, and you got the slippery material, you can take a little bit of this and tape like 5 or 6 of them to your microphone stand.
Yeah.
Just so you can quickly grab one when you drop it. Now, if you're a smart individual like me, you use picks that are grippy and you don't drop. But,
I have to say,
I can't fix the whole world.
I may have dropped 2 picks in the last 10 years.
Right.
I don't drop picks. I just don't. I'm using these, which I know you like. This is the Dunlop Altex Sharp, and I use a 1.4. And then when I play acoustic, I'm using the I don't see one on my desk, but I use the here it is over here. I got a jar of them. I'm using the Fender Extra Heavy.
Right.
And I use that on acoustics.
Yeah. You know what I just picked up? I just picked this up. This is my new thing that I'm trying out right now. This right here. It's Duralin from D'Addario.
Oh, nice.
And it's the same shape as the pick that you're using. It's like a Sharpie.
Yeah.
It's the same shape I like of the Altex, but I wanted to try this because you can get these by the gross for like half the price of what you can get the Altex from Dunlop for. Yeah, I bought a bag of 100 of these for like $18 on Amazon. Yeah. It is a good price. And so I was reading about it and what they compare their Duralin material with, they compare it with the Altex in terms of its sound.
Oh.
So I thought I'll give it a shot and see how it is.
It looks more like what's that Dunlop material that they
Tortex.
What is it?
It looks like Tortex. I mean,
Tortex, exactly.
Yeah, it's purple. I mean, the 1.14 version of this would be this shade of purple, and it looks the same. And honestly, I think it's probably a match. Now that I have them and I tried them, I think it's more like the Tortex.
Yeah.
But
what is it? A 1.2? Is that what I saw?
This is 1.2. Yeah. So anyway, I've been using it, trying to get used to it, and I like it. It feels really similar to Altex on the strings. And so for me, being able to cut that Altex price in half, I'm down.
Yeah, Altex is expensive. Down. It's like it's like 25 maybe for half a gross.
Yeah. Yeah, they're expensive. And I like the Jazz 3 ones, the Altex Jazz 3s. I like those too. And those, like, dude, you get a dozen of them and it's almost $10 on Amazon. Unless you've got a connection at a company like D'Addario where they're just like, able to get you an artist price or whatever the case is. Yeah. That stuff gets hard. And luckily, or I should say Dunlop, not D'Addario. If you've got connections at D'Addario, that's probably great, for getting these even cheaper. But for the time being able to spend $18 on 100 of them was like,
that's great.
Wow, I got to give this a try and see what I think.
I think the D'Addario for the most part is ahead of the curve anyways on most of this stuff. I mean, I don't know if you've tried the NYXL strings, but they're fantastic.
Not yet.
Yeah, that's something you should check out. It's really just a great string. I have to say, it's like they're awesome.
Yeah,
it's the only what I use now. So
I've been on EXLs for as long as I've known you, longer.
Yeah.
I've tried other things here and there just for the sake of it, and there's nothing like the EXLs. But I got to try the NYXLs. I don't know. I think I've heard you describe the difference in the strings as the NYXLs maybe like come to tune faster and stay there longer.
Yeah, they stretch out faster and then they last so much longer. They're great. Yeah, because I used to change my strings. Like if I'm doing a gig, I'll change them weekly. And with the NYXLs, I can hold out a month even longer. And I'm like, oh, this is like,
okay.
Strings still sound brand new. I mean, to me, they're just great. I can't say enough good things about the Dario. As you and I have spoke before, I would never endorse products unless, number one, I use them, or I couldn't say no. No, but seriously, unless I really use something, and it would be this. And the Dario I've been using since like 90 or maybe 89. I think when they came back on the market, they went away for a while. I was using Dean Markley's, and I think 89 or 90 they came back, and I went right back to using them. I like the Dean Markley's. I thought they sound great when they're brand new, and then a week later they sound like the worst. So I really never cared how they aged. And the Dario to me always just sound, they had a longer life. And
I can't dispute any of that with you. I've tried a number of brands, and I stick with the Dario, and I really appreciate their sponsorship of this show. No, I'm just kidding. They're not a sponsor, but they're killer. And everybody's got their opinion. My buddy, you remember my buddy Benson?
Mm-hmm.
He's been an Ernie Ball user for as long as I have known him. I've tried them a number of times, and they go dead on me quick. They break a lot for me. But he has none of those experiences. To him, he says, I play all the time, and I never break them, and they always sound bright, and they last long for me. I don't understand how that's possible. I mean, the human physiology can't be terribly different from our own, and yet, his experience is different. But
yeah, I don't know. I can't.
Stick with what I like.
I had a gig at the Whiskey one night, and we were rehearsing, and I was like, shit. I want to go restring my guitar before the gig. So, which I don't recommend doing unless you're using a Floyd Rose bridge, which I was. So, the guy at the room next to me was like, dude, I got 2 sets of Ernie Balls you can buy off me. I'm like, giddy up. So I buy them. I string it up. We do the rehearsal. I rehearsed before with the new strings. And then everyone's like, okay, so we're going to go meet, grab a bite on Sunset, and then we'll go to the gig. And I'm like, great, but I'm going to meet you guys, and I'll be about a half hour late. And we're all leaving from downtown together. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm going to Guitar Center on Sunset, and I'm buying some Dario, and I'm taking these strings off my guitar as fast as I can. Well, horrible. I thought the guitar sounded bad. I thought the string sounded dead. I was just like, and I just hated it. I don't know what it was. I thought I'd be like, ooh, these work, but no. So I really like the Dario. I like the way they sound. I will say in other strings I've used in the past, like Elgin, when Elgin Factory, who made Gibson used to have great strings.
I remember
now
that.
Gibson strings are fantastic because they're not manufacturing them anymore. Just like Fender. As you recall, Fender doesn't manufacture their own strings. They're all made by a company out of New York, and I can't remember the name. Years ago, when Gibson made their own strings out of the Elgin factory, they made an excellent string.
Yeah, I remember them being good.
Yeah, they did make a good string out of Elgin. I liked them. I don't know why they closed it. Maybe they just didn't think it was worth it, but the Elgin factory made good strings.
We're running a bit long.
Yeah.
So why don't we say our say our goodbyes to our incredibly vast fan base?
Oh, real quickly, though, I just want to say, I want you to look up Paul Stanley ranks guitar players in Kiss. And it's an interview that's a short segment.
I've already seen it.
And Paul's talking about Eric Singer on drums. And basically, Paul's talking about how great Paul is. It's absolutely, if he isn't the biggest douche in music, I don't know who is.
You know, without trying to make myself more important than I am, you have to play with me.
Right. Well, you're the rhythm guitar player.
Yeah. And you have to feel things the way I do. And there's a learning curve there. Mm-hmm. But having similar roots makes it easier. And, I mean, even Eric, when I first played with Eric...
With Eric Singer?
Yeah, with Eric Singer. There was a period of just learning for him. I mean, he watches me on stage. You know, it's we've cut tracks without me playing, and then we wind up having to recut the track because it breathes differently when I play. So, you know, yeah, I mean, it's not a challenge for me, but it's kind of like having to key somebody into what I do and how I play.
Right.
And, you know, I'll say, watch my right hand. Watch what I'm doing. You know, watch where my palm goes. Watch how I'm strumming that.
Mm-hmm. All right, folks, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you very much for joining us and listening. If you were new and you've made it this far, please don't forget to subscribe. We do this every week.
Yes, and we will be here next Monday. Very good.
Catch you later, Bill and Ted.
You're listening to Guitar Talk with Dave and John.